So the message that we are going to learn is from the book of John, chapter 6, verse 1 to 14. And if you bring your Bibles, I want you all to open your Bibles. And if you don't, maybe we'll show some slides here, and we'll all read together. Okay, this is John chapter 6, verse 1 to 14. John chapter 6, verse 1 to 14. Let's read together. After these things, Jesus went away to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. And a great multitude followed him, because they beheld the signs which he did on them that were sick. And Jesus went up into the mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. Now the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was at hand. Jesus therefore, lifting up his eyes, and seeing that a great multitude come unto him, said unto Philip, and to buy bread, that these may eat. And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 shillings worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that everyone may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said unto him, there is a lad here who had 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes. But what are these among so many? Jesus said, make these disciples sit down. Now there was much grass in this place. So the men sat down, in number about 5,000. Jesus therefore took the loaves, and having given thanks, he distributed to them that they were set down. Likewise also of the fishes, as much as they would. And when they were filled, he said unto his disciples, gather up the broken pieces with which remains over, that nothing be lost. So they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with broken pieces from the 5 barley loaves, which remained over unto them that had eaten. When therefore the people saw the signs which he did, they said, this is of the truth, the prophet that come into the world. I think maybe this is New King James, King James versions maybe. So it would be better if we point out NIV one, because this, the English that used in this book is a bit deep, so yeah. This was a well-known story and a familiar story that we used to hear since our childhood time, because in Sunday school class, our teachers used to preach or teach about this story. And many a time, what we remember about this story is that 5 loaves and 2 small fish that has given that fed to 5,000 people. Not even 5,000 people. Only the Bible recorded men, 5,000 men, and probably maybe there were a lot of people that out there too. And some researchers shows that it will be at least 10,000 people are gathering there. So in verse 2, it says that many people were following after Jesus because they saw some signs that he did in the previous. So what are the signs, right? What are the signs that he did in the previous? Why? What kind of the signs that he did, and people were interested in Jesus and following after him? So there are probably 3 significant miracles Jesus did in the previous days, which can be found in John chapter 2, verse 1 to 11, which is turning water into wine in Canaan. The second miracle that Jesus did was healing a noble's son at Capernaum, which can be found in John chapter 4. And the third miracle that Jesus did was healing a 38 years paralyzed man in Jerusalem, which can be found in John chapter 5. So these are the signs that Jesus did before he came over the Sea of Galilee. And imagine that yesterday, or not yesterday, the previous, maybe on Monday, right? Joshua Van has just arrived in Malaysia, and many people wants to know him, and many people wants to see him. Even that he didn't perform miracles like Jesus did, and even that many people wants to know him. Especially in Jesus' time, maybe some people wants to know most signs that Jesus is going to perform, or some of them may want to get healed or be cured. This is the reason that they are following. Imagine that there will be many people. And this is why Jesus was telling Jesus went up to the mountain with his disciple, because more and more people are following after him. And though he moved to in verse even that, when we read in verse 5, it says that the massive people are still coming toward him. And this was the time Jesus did questions to Philip. When we look at when the great multitude was following after Jesus, and when Jesus saw them, he had great compassion on them. Maybe because they look very hungry, right? And some historical resources suggest that the area Jesus traveled near the Sea of Galilee is part of what is now called Golan Heights. Golan Heights. Okay, it's not very clear, but anyway, you can see some. This is the place that Jesus went up after he did 3 miracles. And this were the place. And there are many people following after him. And imagine in those times, there were no transportation like bus, taxis, motorcycle like today's. And maybe this is the reason why people seems to be very tired, and Jesus had compassion on them. And even nowadays, that there are not many people living here. Only some, agriculture communities live here. And this is a place which is where it is very rocky. But there are some places that we can see some grasses covered by grass. But many of these places are very rocky. What I want to say by that is that this is a place where no food can be found, right? There is no shops, and there is no place we can go find some food. And a question starts to Philip. Jesus said that, where shall we buy some bread so that these people may eat? And the Bible clearly says that it wasn't because Jesus doesn't know how to solve this problem, how to provide these multitude, but it's because he wants to test Philip. Let's imagine in the place of Philip that Jesus told us, or told you and I, to find some foods for this great multitude. Even though 5,000, let's imagine it's around like 10,000, or no, 1,000, and there is in a place where where food cannot be found. And let's say if Christ said us to find some foods, what would we be? We'd be so wonder, right? We have no clue. Because we are not already in a place where we can find food easily. Even not for 10, even not for 500. Now it is maybe around 10,000 in Philip's time, in Jesus' time. So, yeah, but God said He wants to test Philip. So what's the meaning of test? The meaning of test, in this verse, the word test is used as a verb. So the word test means that to try or to provide the truth of anything by experiments. It means that to test is to prove about something, to prove the reality about something. So maybe God is going to show or going to prove about the reality of something. This is why He tried to test Philip. And dear brothers and sisters, I have a question. Have you ever felt like you were ignored by God? You tried to bring your problem unto God and ask for help, but you find no answer, and you receive no response from God. And you even start to think or doubt whether God hears my prayers or not. Right? Do you actually know that those were the time Jesus was testing, God was testing us by pausing what He could do already. Not because God doesn't know what you need or what you're praying, but you and I are tested by God, like the way Jesus did to Philip. This is the point, the first point that we can learn. So from this story, the first thing we can learn is that God tests His children. There will be time that God tests you and I. And you know what did Philip reply to Jesus' test? When Jesus asked him that questions, how are we going to find bread to survive or to feed these people? And Philip came out with an answer, which is, he said that 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them. For them means for this multitude, for this crowd. And so, how much money are the 200 denarii? Actually, a denarii was about 1 day's wage. Let's say, normally in Malaysia, when we work for 1 day, we receive around 50 ringgit, right? This is normal wages that we receive working in another day. So a denarii was about 1 day's wage for a common worker in Jesus' time. So when it says to 200 denarii, it is equal to 200 days of work. And when we calculate in months, like weeks and months, the duration is around 8 months. And then 200 denarii is equal to 8 months' wages. When we say 8 months, it's not a short period. The duration is almost about a year. But even that, it's not enough to have a little. It's not enough to solve or to feed these people a little. And once again, Andrew came up with an answer. Maybe Andrew heard that Jesus was questioning Philip. How are we going to feed these people? So he once again came up with a solution and said that there is a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. But what are they among so many? The meaning of what are these among so many is this little food is not enough for such a big crowd. And this verse literally shows that they both trying to, look at solutions. They both tried to bring a solution which came from human resources. The problem they have is very big until the point that they cannot solve it. But their solutions, it's not from, from somewhere else, but from, they try to bring out their solutions from human resources around them. And still, their solutions are not the best and the perfect solutions for these situations. By looking at this, we can see that humans naturally try to solve problems through our own understanding. This is how Philip and Andrew respond, and we often do the same. Whenever a problem tries to arise, the first thing we think of is money. For example, let's say one of our family members gets seriously sick, and we have to bring him or her to the hospital. And the first thing that we think of is money, We try to think and solve this problem with our own understanding first. Think of money, yes, for sure, because as soon as we enter the reception counter, we first have to pay. Even if we want to get cured or try to get a treatment. This is why we try to think of money. And even that, if we don't have enough resources or enough money, we try to think of another way that we can to borrow some money from the people or from the one who has. But still, those solutions cannot be the best. Why? Because our human resources are very limited. Let's say to get a treatment in a hospital, you might need 20,000 ringgit. But the one that you are going to borrow may probably have like 10,000 ringgit, which means that our resources are very limited to handle these situations. This is why our own understanding is not enough. Our resources is not enough to, handle a problem that we face. And secondly, the second point, what we can know from this story is that our own knowledge cannot provide the best solution, because the resources and the knowledge that we have is very limited. And this is why the Bible strongly says that trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on our own understanding. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. Let's get back to the context in verse 10. Jesus said, make the people sit down. Jesus said his disciple to let the people sit down. And this is what Jesus gave instructions to solve this problem after they had found no solutions for this situation. And they did listen to what Jesus said to them, and they made the people. They make them sit in the grass. And this is the time Jesus started to begin to do his work, distributing and multiplying the 5 loaves and 2 fishes through his disciple to the people. The Bible clearly says that Jesus tried to hand, 5 loaves and 2 fishes to his disciple first, then only to the people. The Bible didn't say that Jesus didn't hand it, Jesus didn't hand the food directly to the crowd, but give it to his disciple first. In this way, Jesus' disciples could understand, especially Philip and Andrew, could understand the power of God who can provide and who can make multiplies. And they could clearly witness this marvelous miracle happenings in front of their eyes. And probably maybe they would understand that why Jesus questions them how to solve or how to, feed these many people. And maybe they probably may understand now the reason he questioned them and make them think and wonder. But it's not stopped there. It doesn't stop there. Jesus' purpose was to show them that he is able, and he is all powerful, and he is the true provider. By this point, in the same way, in our life, when we face big challenges, and if we are going through with tests, it's not to be discouraged, because it will allow us to see God's greatness. And God knows our needs, our feelings, and he is the one who understands the situation. But the thing is, he wants us to learn and lean on him, not on our own understandings. Because he wants to show us that he is able, he is in control, and he is the almighty and powerful God. So the third point that what we can learn from this story is that God revealed his greatness through tests. This is why, at the end, in the story said at the end, the disciples even gathered 12 baskets of the remaining 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And this is it is a time that they understand that God turned and multiplying from 5 loaves to 5 loaves and 2 fishes into, many, more than enough. Dear brothers and sisters, as we come to the conclusion of today's message, let us reflect what we have learned from this lesson, from this story. First, we can see that God tests his children. To test means is to show what is really truth. And God already know how he's going to help us, how he is going to provide for us. But sometimes he pauses and tests us just like he did Philip and Andrew. Secondly, we learn that human has limited wisdom, and resources. Like Philip, we often try to depend on what we can see and calculate. We think in terms of money, people. But in moments like this, we are reminded our own understanding is not enough. The resources that we have is not enough. But to lean on God, not on our own understanding. Thirdly, we learn that God uses, or God tests us to reveal his greatness. What seems impossible for us is opportunity for God to show that his power and the Almighty and the one who is more than enough. So today, let us be encouraged that whenever we face, whenever we are tested or face challenges, let us not discourage, but always remember that there are times God tests us. And in order to overcome this situation is not to lean on our own understanding, but to lean on what can do and God's power. For he is able, there is nothing impossible for him. And trust in the Lord fully. And remember that our understanding is very limited. And by leaning on God's, greatness, we will surely see one day that He is able in front of our eyes, like Philip and Andrew or His disciple did in the past. So that's all my today's message, and I also want to translate a little bit in Myanmar. I think I don't break the rule, right? Because there may be some people who are listening but still don't understand very well. ဒီနေ့လေ့လာလိုက်တဲ့နှုတ်ပတ်တော်ကတော့ John chapter 6 John ယောဟန်အခန်းကြီး6ခန်းကြီး1ကနေ14ကနေ story ကနေလေ့လာလိုက်တာဖြစ်ပါတယ်ဒီ story ကတော့အားလုံးသိကြတဲ့အတိုင်းပဲပေါ့နော်မုံငါးလုံးနဲ့ငါးနှကောင်အကြောင်းဖြစ်တယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့ဒီအဲ့ဒီအခက်အဲ့ဒီအချိန်တုန်းကဂျေရှုခရစ်တော်ကဒီဂါလိလိ Sea of Galilee ရေအိုင်ကနေအပေါ်ဖက်ကိုသွားတဲ့အခါမှာလူတွေအများကြီးကသူ့ကိုလိုက်လာတယ်လို့ပြောတယ်အဲ့တော့အဲ့လိုလိုက်လာတဲ့အခါမှာဘာကြောင့်လူတွေကအဲ့လိုလိုက်လာနေဆိုတော့ဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုတော့ယေရှုကအဲ့ဒီအရှိမှာပေါ့နော်နမိတ်လက္ခဏာ3ခုလုပ်ခဲ့တယ်အဲ့ဒါကြောင့်မို့အဲ့ဒီနမိတ်လက္ခဏာတွေကိုမြင်တဲ့အခါမှာလူတွေကသူ့ကိုအယမ်းစိတ်ဝင်စားပြီးမှတချို့တော့လူတွေကနာယုကခုပျောက်ချင်လို့တချို့လူတွေကသူ့ကိုမြင်ချင်လို့တချို့တော့လူတွေကသူ့လုံးမဲ့နမိတ်လက္ခဏာတွေကိုမြင်တွေ့ချင်လို့သူအများကြီးလိုက်လာကြတယ်လို့ပြောတယ်အဲ့တော့ယေရှုနဲ့သူ့ရဲ့တပည့်တော်တွေကအဲ့ဒီလူတွေကိုအများကြီးကိုမြင်တဲ့အခါမှာယမ်းဘောနော်အဲ့ဒီလူတွေကလည်းအရင်ဘိုက်ဆန်နေဟန်တူပါတယ်ဘာဖြစ်ဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒီအချိန်တော့ကJesus တွားခဲ့တဲ့နေရာက Golden Height လို့ပြောတယ်အဲ့ဒီနေရာတွေဖြစ်တယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒီနေရာမှာဆိုတကယ်ကိုလူတွေမရှိဘဲနဲ့လုံးဝကိုတိတ်ကန်တာရတော့မဟုတ်ဒါပေမဲ့တော့အဲ့လိုမျိုးနေရာပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့ဘယ်လိုပြောမလဲတော့မသိတော့ဘူးအဲ့ဒီမှာအဲ့ကြောင့်မို့စားစရာမရှိဘဲနဲ့ပြောမယ်ဆိုရင်အဲ့ဒီခေတ်ခါတော့ဆိုရင်တော့အခုလိုမျိုးရေထားတို့ကားတို့မရှိတဲ့ခါမှာတို့လမ်းချောင်းမှာလာကြတယ်နေတူပါတယ်နော်အဲ့တော့သူတို့ကအရင်ဘိုက်စာမပြင်ပန်းနေကြကိုတွေ့တဲ့ခါမှာယေရှုကတနာကိယူနာတက်ဝင်၍သူတို့ကိုတခုကြွေးစားခြင်းတယ်အဲ့တော့ယေရှုမှာတော့အကြံရှိတယ်သူဘယ်လိုလုပ်မလဲဆိုသူဘယ်လိုလုပ်ရမလဲဘယ်လိုကြွေးမွေးရမလဲဆိုသူသိတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့သူကအဲ့ဒီအရာကိုမလုပ်ခင်မှာသူကသူ့ရဲ့တပည့်တော်ဖိလိပကိုအရင်မေးတယ်ပေါ့နော်ဟာဒီလူတွေအများကြီးငါတို့ဘယ်လိုကြွေးမွေးကြမလဲဆိုပြီးမှမေးကြတယ်တဲ့အဲ့တော့အဲ့လိုမေးကြတဲ့အခါမှာဖိလိပကပေါ့နော်ဟာဆရာကြီးသခင်ယေရှုပေါ့နော်တန်နိုင်ပြနေရလောက်တောင်မှဒီလူတွေကိုနည်းနည်းလေးတော့ကြွေးစားဖို့မဟုတ်ငါတို့ဝင်နေမှာမဟုတ်ဘူးဆိုပြီးမှပြောတယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒီမတော်ခင်မှာယေရှုကသူ့ရဲ့တပည့်တွေကိုဘယ်လိုဝေကြွေးဒီလူတွေကိုဘယ်လိုကြွေးမွေးရမလဲလို့မေးတဲ့ခါမှာယေရှုကဘယ်လိုဖြေရှင်းရမလဲဆိုတော့မသိလို့မဟုတ်ပါဘူးတကယ်တော့ तू သိပါတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ तू ကစမ်းသက်ခြင်းလို့ပြောတယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲကြောင့်မို့ဒီအကြောင်းအရာအဖြစ်ကျွန်တော်ပထမချက်လေ့လာနိုင်ကြကျွန်တော်တို့အသက်တာမှာဖခင်စမ်းသက်တဲ့အချိန်ကြီးရှိတယ်ပေါ့နော်။ तू လုံနိုင်တဲ့အရာတွေကို तू မလုံသေးဘဲနဲ့ပေါ့နော်။အဲ့တော့ငါတို့ရဲ့ဆုတောင်းတန်တွေကိုလေတစ်ခါလေးမှာဘလို့ဆုတောင်းမဖြေလာလို့ဖြစ်တဲ့အချိန်တွေရှိတယ်။အဲ့တော့တကယ်တမ်းတော့ဖခင်ကတင်းရဲ့အတန်တော်ကိုနားမကြားရလို့မဟုတ်ဘူးပေါ့နော်။မတိလို့မဟုတ်ဘူး။မင်းခံစားချက်ကိုနားမလီလို့မဟုတ်ဘူး။ဒါပေမဲ့ဖခင်ကမင်းကိုစမ်းသက်နေတာဖြစ်တယ်ဆိုတဲ့အကြောင်းအရာပေါ့နော်။အခုဖိလိပကိုလုပ်ခဲ့တယ်မျိုး။ဒုတိယအနေနဲ့ကကျတော့ဖိလိပကသူ့ရဲ့ကိုပိုင်မဟုတ်ဘူးဘယ်လိုပြောရမလဲသူ့ရဲ့ understanding ကနေသူ့ရဲ့knowledge ပေါ့နော်အသိပညာအသိကနေရှိလာတဲ့အတိုင်းပေါ့နော်သူကပတ်စံကိုပဲတွတ်တော်ပြီးမှသူကဒီလူတွေကိုဘယ်လိုကျွေးမွေးရင်ကောင်းမလဲဆိုတာကိုသူကအဖြေတစ်ခုရှာတယ်နော်အဲ့လိုပဲအန်ဒရူးကလည်းမုံငါးလုံးနဲ့ငါးနှကောင်ပဲရှိတယ်ဒီဟာတွေကမလောက်ပါဘူးဘာညာဖြစ်အဖြေတစ်ခုရှာခဲ့တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့အဖြေတစ်ခုစလုံးကအဲ့ဒီအခြေအနေကိုဖြေရှင်းနိုင်တဲ့အဖြေကောင်းမဖြစ်ခဲ့ဘူးပေါ့နော်။ဒီဟာကိုကြည့်ချင်းအဖြစ်လူတွေကကိုယ့်ရဲ့ understanding ကိုပဲအမြဲတမ်းdepend လုပ်တတ်ကြတယ်ပေါ့နော်။ဒါပေမဲ့အဲ့ဒီအရာတွေကကျွန်တော်တို့ကိုကောင်းတဲ့အဖြေကိုပေးနိုင်မှာမဟုတ်ပါဘူး။တင့်လျော်တဲ့အဖြေကိုပေးနိုင်မှာမဟုတ်ပါဘူးနော်။ဒါပေမဲ့အကောင်းဆုံးအခြေအနေကတော့အကောင်းဆုံးကတော့ကိုယ်မှာဘလို့ပြဿနာပဲဖြစ်ဘလို့ပြဿနာပဲရှိအဲ့ဒီအရာကိုဖြေရှင်းဖို့အကောင်းဆုံးဖြေရှင်းဖို့ဆိုရင်ဖခင်ရဲ့တတ်နိုင်ခြင်းကိုကတော့ကမိခိုဖို့ဖြစ်တယ်ပေါ့နော်ဆိုတာကိုဒုတိယချက်အနေနဲ့ကျွန်တော်လေ့လာလိုက်ကြတာဖြစ်တယ်ပေါ့နော်တတိယချက်အနေနဲ့ကကျတော့အဲ့ဒီလိုပဲဒီနောက်ဆုံးပိုင်းမှာဆိုရင်တော့လုံးဝယေရှုကဒီလူတွေကိုထိုင်စီခိုင်းမှာခုနရှိတဲ့မုံငါးလုံးနဲ့ငါးနှကောင်ကနေလုံးဝလူတွေစားပြီးမှမကုံနိုင်လောက်တဲ့အချီသူကများပြအောင်တိုးပွားလာအောင် Bima Luriga, Owalin Saya Sula, Taibono, Ericama, Letuga, the Mongalong and Nganakan would you, Pianway, they come at the Kari usually, who you so my Pianlamo, 2 year disciple, 2 year the bed or gun the saint of a Pianway, the Loyitari. The lawyer go teaching up him. Bueno, Piaga, the Kirano Arugo, Bluvomle, the Kalima, Ayanji, Wonder Pia on Loda, you know, the Kalima General Luchina Apigo Mia, Biomasina, pausing Lonida, General go Santa Nia, the Kirano, 2 year Jimmy Jango, that they two chino pide. You know, Eddie, a chinoa, Eddie story tale, you know, Piaga. Tu tan nai jango feel it tu ye disciple tu ye debate or ye me long shi ma tin you know turu ka ni ta sim mo ko phyan ni lo pyo de kha ma turu shi ma tin mo ko we lai da da me pwa mya twa da ko tu ye to ko ro phya ye ji mya chin phya ye tat nai chin phya ye tat swan chin a chang ya de ko myen min ko tin tu yi khe ya da phit de wo no da chang lo phya ga chun lo san tat de ba nya so ga ta cha tu ma yi chit de a mya shi ba de wo no jan sa ma ta cha perspective ka ni ji lo ya de a pai de mya shi ba de da me the story a phit chun lo lai la nai na ga phya ye ji mya cha chang ko the two chin the chang general sent that I'm really she days so that Jaya people no don't chat pillar like Jara Pibadi, but not in each other. I don't know about the Apia Alopo, Passion Country people say.